Hello and welcome. My name is Vanessa Ortali. I am the founder of the Ladies Community and Heart and Mind Talks. And today I have another interview for our online summit, The One. And the theme of this summit is One with Purpose, One with Self, One with Others. And I am bringing you today Heather Monahan, who is a Tedx speaker, author, coach, and an amazing woman who transitioned from a 20-year-long career into now becoming a confidence expert and helping women really get in tune with their confidence. So we're going to chat a little bit about, if you've seen her TEDx talk, you will know that she has had and been very vocal about her relationship with other women. So I want to dive deep into that because I know so many of us are frankly scared of other women, myself included. And then we'll chat a little bit more about how she transitioned out of her corporate life and into where she's at now, and giving you then some confidence tips so you can be your most confident self. So thank you, Heather. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited to be real and authentic about our relationships with each other.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. What is going on with relationships between women? Why are they so they can be so good and bad?
Yeah, I mean, this is a stat I use my TEDx talk. 2/3 of women are bullied or harassed by other women in the workplace. And that certainly was my experience in corporate America. The Me Too movement is very interesting to me because it calls out specifically men harassing women, but never takes a look at women and the mental abuse and harassment that they put each other through. For me, I was sexually harassed in corporate America a couple of times when I was younger, but the harassment that I endured from other women at work was much greater, more frequent, and more intense than anything that I ever managed in regards to men. So it's an awful situation that is taboo. No one wants to talk about it because it's, it's girls being girls. I was told that a lot when I was in corporate America. I was one of 2 females on the executive team. I was a chief revenue officer and the other woman was a chief financial officer, and everyone else was male. And any time that I would bring up the issue of how this woman would ignore me, not respond to me, try to roadblock my progress in corporate America in a very passive aggressive way, so she could fly under the radar, yet still disrupt my path to success and my entire team's path to success, I'd bring it up and I was constantly told, oh, that's girls with girls. Girls can't play nice in the sandbox. That's why we can't have more girls here. It really became kind of a joke. Sadly, it was not a joke. It did get in the way of revenue generation. It got in the way of execution in operations. It became a cultural issue that was not unique to that company, and certainly is a bigger picture issue in many organizations.
Yeah, I think this even starts in the sandbox, literally. If I think back to elementary school, high school, I was most teased by women. And it was really, even as I got older, it was hard to actually have friendships with women.
Yeah, because women tend to be very competitive, and we
Yeah.
also were in this interesting environment with media where women are, or the pretty women are pictured certain ways and told to look perfect and told to be skinny and told to dress a certain way. And then when a lot of people or a lot of women are trying to achieve that, there become insecurity issues. There become, starting to put other people down to try to make themselves feel better. There become eating disorder issues and trying to achieve this perfection, and then shame issues trying to hide that. All of these issues compound on one another and create an environment that isn't really about inclusivity, authenticity, and openness, but instead about, isolating yourself and not being the true real you. And when you don't show up as a true real you, you're not going to attract the right people towards you, which really starts this domino effect of being out in corporate America, being in environments and being extremely isolated because the people around you aren't supportive of you.
Yeah. And then I wonder too, if we're receiving that and then it makes us insecure. I feel like in our insecurity, we're also then more judgmental and harsher on other women. So it just becomes this spiral and circle that we never get out of.
Yeah,
How,
absolutely happens very
yeah,
often.
yeah. How can we break this cycle?
There's so many different ways. For me, the number one way that I did is firing the villains in your life. When you get negative people out of your life, you create so much opportunity for you to take off and for you to allow people to come in to support you. I had been, around someone that hated me for 14 years, was jealous of me, constantly putting me down. And I thought turning a blind eye to that would allow me to focus on my work and my development. What I didn't realize is it's like Chinese water torture over time. If you're around someone slowly putting you down and doing negative things to you, it's going to have a massive erosion and impact on you over time. And that had happened to me. It really had chipped away at my confidence. And until I decided to fire the negative people from my life, fire your villains, then I started to take off. And then as I began to take off, I began to invest in myself and focus on myself and how I could create confidence, sustainable, long-term confidence, not confidence that was coming from a paycheck or a title outside of me, but really intrinsic confidence about who I am as a person and who I truly am, whether I show up with makeup on or off. It's irrelevant to me these days, where before, when I was in corporate America, I would never show up for a meeting with, no makeup on or hair pulled back in a bun for fear of what others might say about me. Today, I love that. If someone's going to say, oh, she looked terrible because she didn't put time into getting ready today. Well, this is how I wake up in the morning and I feel good about it. And that's really
Yeah.
exciting to me.
Yeah. And I guess that's what you define as true confidence, is when we can just show up and not have our state of being be affected by all those external things.
Yeah, for sure. To me, it used to be about when I walk into a room, what will they think? Now I've completely flipped that upside down. Now I walk into a room and I wonder what else. Gosh, I hope I like these people. And that's such a seismic change that really is just rooted in confidence for yourself.
Yeah. How did you find that confidence?
So, as I said, the first thing I did was I fired the villains in my life. The next thing I did was I took a baseline on where my confidence was, and it was very low. So I essentially wrote down on a piece of paper the same way you would if you had a baseline weight and you wanted to go on a diet and achieve a certain weight. So I wrote down where I was with my confidence, and I created a picture and a vision of where I wanted that confidence to be 30 days from then, which I thought was attainable. I didn't want to look at 5 years in the future. That seemed overwhelming at the time. So I broke it down to these 4 blocks, which were for 4 weeks in a month. I focused on gratitude every day, on being grateful for specific things in my life, and I wrote those things down. I also focused on action because I just happen to gravitate towards action. I believe that there's 3 different ways to really create confidence. One is around belief systems, one is around taking action, and the third is around knowledge and accessing knowledge. For everyone gravitates towards different things. For me, I'm an action person. So I focus on action steps I could take each day, that in each moment I would be creating confidence for myself. And that can be, and it could be different for you than it is for me, but when I got fired, taking action and posting on social media to share that I had been fired was action step number 1. That created a whole new domino effect of opportunities being brought to me because people had no idea I'd been fired. So that opened up a great gate for me to, number 1, be transparent about what had happened to me. Number 2, ask for help, because asking for help is something strong people do. And number 3, deciding to see getting fired instead of a shameful thing, I decided to see it as in good company. J.K. Rowling had been fired, Mark Cuban, Oprah. There's countless billionaires that have been fired, and that was a trajectory to get them started in a different direction. So I decided to flip how I saw that. And through these action items and steps, I created new opportunities, which ultimately led me to getting on the Elvis Duran show, which in that conversation with him, surround yourself with good people who believe in you. He says to me, hey, Heather, you're definitely writing a book, aren't you? And I said, well, yeah, of course I am. Hearing his confidence in me that I had the potential to be an author allowed me to feel acknowledged that, you know what, I had this idea. I didn't know if I could do it, but if this guy thinks I can, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and that will be my next action step. So, each one of these steps steers you into a different direction that allows you to advance and along that way, build confidence, because in any moment you're either creating confidence or chipping away at it. That choice is yours. So, it became, okay, I feel really scared that he said I should write a book. And even though I believe he thinks I should, and I somewhere inside me, I think I should, I'm scared. If I choose to back off and say I shouldn't do it, I'm going to chip away at my confidence. If I choose to say, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to take action right now and Google it and try to figure it out, that's creating confidence.
Yeah, I love that you make that distinction, because I think people are chipping away at their confidence every day and don't even know that they are. What else did you do back then when you were in that situation that was also chipping away at your confidence that you may not have realized at the time?
Well, one of the things that many of us do is we break promises to ourselves. So at night, I'd be at home crying because I didn't want to go back to work the next day and be spoken down to and ignored. And I would say, I'm going to stop this. I'm not letting her do this to me anymore. And then wouldn't you know, the next day I'd be in a meeting and she'd ignore me and I'd struggle internally. What if I get fired? I'm going to lose my paycheck. How will I pay my bills? I'm just not going to say anything. And every time I would choose not to say something instead of standing up for myself, I was chipping away at my confidence in a very silent manner. And that had a big impact on me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because I know so many women can relate to that. And I want within this interview for people to see themselves in those experiences as well. So they know, shit, I did that yesterday. I didn't stand up for myself. And they can really make that distinction in their own lives.
Well, I'll tell you there's two. There's two things women specifically do very often. And these are two things I've changed personally in my life. Early in my career, when I would be nervous in a group of men in a business setting, I would poke fun at myself. I would utilize self-deprecating humor because I thought that was allowing for men to connect with me and feel comfortable around me. Little did I know, and it was brought to my attention in my early 20s, what I was doing was telling people I was an idiot. So I'd say, blonde moment, oh, you know me, and make jokes and start laughing about things that weren't true. And I was doing that in hopes they would think I was funny and like to be around me. Instead, what I was doing was I was advertising that I was an idiot. I learned never use self-deprecating humor in business, ever, because what you're telling people about yourself is what they're going to start buying about you, and then they're going to start speaking that same way. So we can't get angry if we're walking around making jokes about, something that we did, and then somebody else comes back and starts making jokes to our face about things that we do. So speak about yourself the way you want others to speak about you. And so I decided to change that narrative. When I would be around men, I would say, I'm really proud of my team. I'm really proud of the results that I recently delivered. Let me walk you through them, and start talking about what I was accomplishing and what was great and strong and fantastic. I'd own failures, but I wouldn't do it in a joking manner. I'd say, here's a couple of things I've learned that I think everyone at the table can benefit from and learn from, as we all make mistakes. Here's a mistake that I want to highlight that occurred last week. Here's how I addressed it, pivoted, and turned it into an opportunity. And I would just start changing the way that I spoke about my failures, about my wins. Instead of making it a laughing matter, it became very serious. The other thing that happens often with women is women apologize for everything. So, and I was to blame for this as well, walk in late to a meeting and say, I'm so sorry I'm late. This was just dumped on my desk last minute. I know that everyone's been waiting for me. I'm so sorry. Now I walk in, instead of making it about me, I'm sorry, I did this, I make it about them. Understand I'm 5 minutes late to the meeting. I'd like to thank everybody for your patience. I know everyone's very busy. Let's get this meeting started, and I'm ready to go. Make it about gratitude towards other people. Make it that we're appreciative of their time and we acknowledge them. And that has a much bigger impact and doesn't chip away at our confidence.
Yeah, it sounds so strong when you say that too. Like, I understand that I've been late and thank you. I think I understand is a really good phrase that we can use instead of I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh.
That's really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And conversely, it's interesting that you just remind me of something. One of my go-to words or phrases is I'm confused. And I use this in business very often. So say, for example, you thought you were getting an increase and you and your boss had talked about it and he had, figured out a way to get an increase. You're sitting down in the meeting with your boss and he says, unfortunately, we were just told no one's getting increases this quarter, and our conversations are going to have to be shelved and we'll just have to pick that up next year. My go-to phrase in any situation where there is something disparaging from what has been said is going to happen and what's actually happening is this: I'm confused. Can you explain to me what happened? And I start everything off with that, I'm confused. And when you approach it that way, that hang on, there's a confusion here. You put that onus back on that other person to explain why is there a confusion, because we had agreed upon something differently before, and you put that on them that they have to explain to you. And typically that will unravel that issue that you might be having.
That's awesome. That's so good. I'm going to now pay attention when I can say that. I'm confused. Can you please explain? That's good.
Sometimes all you have to say is I'm confused, and they'll take it from you.
That's awesome. Can you take us back to when you were fired? And what did this transition look like for you?
Yeah, I gave you a little bit of it. It was 2 years ago. I was a chief revenue officer of a media company. I'd been there 14 years. And when the CEO I reported to became ill, he elevated his daughter to replace him. She had hated me forever, very jealous woman. And she terminated me right away. I left there. After about 24 hours, I decided I was going to post about it. I posted online that I had just been fired and that I was really hurting and had never been fired in my life, didn't know why I was, but I was really having a tough time and I wanted to hear from people if they could help. I received thousands and thousands of messages, comments on that post, and a lot of opportunities, which eventually led me to going on the Elvis Duran show, which led me to write and self-publish my first book, which led me to figure out how you promote books. And one of the ways is through speaking. I'd spoken in corporate America for 2 decades and never been paid. That had been part of my job. So taking to the streets to essentially market and promote my book allowed me to uncover there's a $1 billion+ speaking business out there that doesn't have very many strong female leads. And that allowed me to get picked up by the Harry Walker Speaker Agency, GDA speakers, APB speakers, countless different speaker bureaus, and start working with agents to get my message of how to move up in corporate America, how to advance yourself, and how to overcome adversity. And that opened up a completely new business that I had never planned on. I had planned on writing this book and that sort of being my lane, is moving into this author lane, which really, my speaking business and revenues are my number one revenues. And now this week I'm speaking for financial industry. I'm the keynote speaker. So I'm speaking all around the country to various industries that I would have never thought of. I had no vision for this. It was just about continually taking action and moving myself forward, trying different things that led me to where I am today.
Yeah. And just taking the next best step, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk to me about becoming an author. How did you tune into knowing that that was potentially your purpose and your next step?
I didn't. I had no idea. I'd never written anything. I had no idea. I wasn't an academic. I wasn't a literary person. I just knew that when Elvis felt that confident that I should be writing a book, this man meets with, celebrities, experts, politicians. He obviously has a wealth of knowledge around what people do, that he felt I had a story to tell and I should be writing about it. And when he said that to me, I had actually thought, when I got fired, I've been in sales and marketing my entire career, I need a product to sell ASAP. What could I create to sell to drive revenues? And, just adding those pieces together, creating a book is something I could do. I don't know how to do it, but I could Google it and figure it out. And then when I heard just that conviction in his belief that I should be doing this, I thought, okay, I'm going to Google it and figure out how to do it.
Cool. Do you feel like you're living your purpose now? How does the feeling of what you're doing now compare to when you were working in corporate?
Well, when I was working in corporate, my number one priority was to increase value for shareholders. That was it. So my goal was to raise that stock price to create more revenue so that our shareholders would get more value out of the investment known as our company and our stock. That is not very purpose driven. It's very financial driven. And now my number one purpose and goal is to provide for my son and myself first and foremost. I will say that. But number two, to do work that allows me to give back in a positive way. And I get a lot of people calling me asking, can you mentor me? Can you coach me? I don't do that. What I'm doing, because I can't scale a business to the size that I would need personally, to continue my livelihood the way that I have been. So my goal was, how can I scale revenues to a level that will support my commitments for my condo, my son's school, my car, blah, 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 all this lifestyle I've created, and grow it from here, not condense it or consolidate it. how can I scale a business rapidly enough? And what I found is the speaking business really allows me to do that pretty fantastically. And that's been, my trajectory so far. So when I speak, this week I'm speaking at this financial convention about overcoming adversity and how these adversities can be overcome. So adversities right now for the financial industry are volatility in stock markets. They could also be the loss of a spouse. They could also be working in a toxic environment. It could be about client retention or client acquisition. There are so many different challenges in any industry that really all these same baseline principles that I've written about in my book and I talk about in my speeches can allow anyone to overcome adversity. And that's of meaning to me and a purpose to me when I'm getting up and sharing these insights and how I've done it. And if I can do it, how other people can do it and apply it in their lives, that's getting paid for and creating value around something that I think is really good and impacts people in a positive way.
Yeah. And it goes back to share what you know and share what you've been through, because how you share it, other people can resonate. And if you can touch one person's life in that audience, then that's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Were you a good speaker when you first started? What was it like the first time you got on stage?
I don't remember. It's so long ago. So I've been in sales and sales leadership since I was 20 years old, since I got out of college. So from my first year, I was promoted to sales manager. So you start holding sales meetings. So, that's the first time I was on a small stage in front of 30 or 40 people. So each week I would hold sales meetings and I'm the speaker. And then it advanced to, VP of sales. So then I would speak in front of hundreds of people, and then executive vice president, chief revenue. And then I was speaking in front of thousands of people. So there was an evolution from the time I was 20 years old until I was 43 when I got fired, that the audience size just kept growing. And the frequency in regards to the speeches I was giving would grow as well, because I would be on planes going to different locations to speak. So I didn't know I was prepping myself for a completely new industry and a completely new job. Remember, this was all part of my existing job in corporate America. I was, told that that's part of what you do. And so I didn't have some big picture vision for it. I wasn't training to get really great at speaking so I could go out and, be a top speaker. I didn't even realize that was a business back then. And it was because I was so focused on my own lane, my own company, my own responsibilities, that I wasn't picking my head up to look around. How else could I utilize these talents, the experience that I have, and my unique value proposition to bring value, maybe even more value, and make exponentially more money and do something I enjoy doing? I wasn't thinking about it that way, but it's actually where I've ended up.
How did you become a better speaker? If someone's listening to this and they think, you know what, I think I want to speak, what are some steps they can take to improve that and go along that path?
Number one, speak, and speak. That's the best thing that happened for me, is I was speaking with so much frequency, right? Because it's like when I played softball as a kid, if you were only going to play once a year, you weren't going to be any good. You had to go to practice at your school, get home and throw the ball against the house. Then on the weekends, you had to ask your dad to take you down to a field so that you could practice, right? You don't get good because you just showed up and you have a great outfit on that day or a big message to share. You're going to be nervous because you don't have experience doing it. And, it's annoying to my kid, but if I'm giving a new speech, I'll make him sit down and listen to me. And he's like, "This is terrible, Mom. Why do I have to listen to this?" I'm like, "Because I want feedback from you." And when I was giving my TEDx talk, I had never given a TEDx talk. That's very different than giving a keynote speech. I made everyone in my life listen to that flipping talk. I gave that talk so many times. It's 10 minutes long. My son could recite it. And so it's funny that it's that basic that people want to convolute it and say, "Oh, hire a coach and do this and that." And hey, go for it if that's what you want to do. But to me, the real work is around you practicing, you videotaping yourself, you watching, and you putting yourself in different environments, even if it means starting at a small group meeting at work of 10 people. Ask to raise your hand and say, "I want to be the speaker this week. I want to talk about this topic. I'd like to take the room." And then take it seriously. Do your homework, have your notes, prepare and put the work and the reps in. And that's how you will ultimately advance.
And those wins and that practice also helps improve your confidence, obviously, which goes back to what you're so passionate about talking about and helping people become more confident, like in your book.
Yeah, I mean, anytime that you practice and put the time in, you're going to feel more comfortable. And the more comfortable you feel, the more comfortable you're going to look, the more comfortable your audience is going to be, the more you can respond on the fly. Because one thing that's interesting about speaking and presenting in particular, things will never go the way that you have planned, ever. And that may mean that no one's saying anything, everyone's looking at their phone. You need to take action and get people's attention. So you have to pivot from what you had planned for to say, hang on, seems like we've got an issue in this room. In order to make a pivot like that, an unknown pivot that you hadn't predicted and planned for, you've got to feel really comfortable in your content, in your expertise, in your conversation that you're having to take a chance and step out of what you planned for. So the more comfortable that you can be standing there, like, plan that outfit, put that time into getting ready, feel your best, throw your shoulders back, listen to your Fire Me Up playlist music. I listen to the same playlist every time before I go on because it triggers, it's like Pavlov's dog, like it's psychology. The minute I hear it, I know, oh, I'm about to go on stage and kill it. Here we go. I immediately get trained. It's a response training that's psychological in nature. And you are preparing yourself to do a fantastic job. Envision yourself going into that arena, onto that stage ahead of time. Go visit that arena and that stage ahead of time, or that office, wherever it is. But mentally put yourself there, see yourself doing fantastic, see yourself in the outfit you're going to wear, plan for it, prepare for it, and remind yourself of other times you stepped into something new and did a good job, because that's future evidence of what's going to happen that next day when you go take that next stage.
Yeah, those are really good practical tips that anybody can use in anything, right? So looking, practice, visualizing, music, those are all really good tips to help with confidence. If I want to go back to the confidence piece a little bit more, because I know when working with women within the ladies community and just many of the events that I attend, we get in our own way. What are some of the things that you see when working with women and some of the tips that you tell them to get them out of their current state of being so that they can really step into being a speaker or achieving whatever dream that they want?
You know, oftentimes I see people say things like, well, I can't do that. You can do that, but I can't do that. That drives me cuckoo. It's the biggest cop out in the world, right? So why can I and not you? No, who said so? That's my favorite question to ask people, right? Who said? And whoever tell them to screw, because here's the thing, whether it's your mother, your husband, I don't know who your villain is in your life. And I put it out really black and white like that because it doesn't mean they're not a nice person, but in the context of this situation, it is a villain in your life if they're telling you not to do it. I was putting out my first book and I shared it with my biological innermost family in secret 6 weeks before it came out. And 2 of my family members told me I couldn't do it and to absolutely drop it and not publish that book. And I had to decide, I am not going to accept their self-limiting beliefs. I am not going to accept their fears. I am going to stay focused on what I know. And I did something really smart in that moment. I called my editor. I had never written a book. He had written 19. And I called him crying and I said, my family just told me I can't move forward with this book. And he said, why? I said, oh, they said I'm going to get sued and that no one's going to buy it and I'm going to embarrass myself, and every fear that they had. And he said, let me tell you something. You've produced 0 books as of today. I produced 19. Let me tell you what other people have told me. And he walked me through. Other people had told him he can't be an editor. He can't be an author. He can't do this. And he had decided to hand them back their self-limiting beliefs and move forward with his vision. And he asked me about my why. He said, why did you write this book to begin with? I said, because if I can help, this is what I truly said, but I think it's funny now. If I can help one person that might be in my situation, then it will be all worth it, which now that's BS because I want to help 1 million, you know, that's so ridiculous now, but I didn't know I would get thousands of messages from, my book trumped for #1 on the business biography list on Amazon. I almost didn't release that book because of what my family said to me. Now, was my family trying to harm me? No. But maybe they were trying to protect themselves or they were trying to protect me. So I go back to this. Sometimes you have to fire the villains in your life, even when they're the ones that might love you the most.
Yeah, I think that that's a really good theme throughout this interview, is looking at who are those villains in your life right now, and being aware of when they do continue to come up in your life, and what are you going to do about it, because they're not living your life and you're letting them hold you back.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly your choice.
Yeah. Writing a book. I know there's so many people, myself included, who want to write a book. What process did you use in order to write that book? Did you carve out time every day, or how did you actually make that happen?
It is not hard. It's a whole scam out there in the world that people tell you it's so hard. It's not. It's actually, that's been one of the, I just wrote my second book. I wrote it actually last year. Did not,
Congratulations.
thanks. It
Yeah.
didn't take me long, but you know, what's very hard is writing a book proposal. Now, this is my experience, right? So
Yeah.
everyone has different experiences with things, but if I can write a book, anyone can, please. Again, I was never big into literary, anything, the arts, nothing. I was always big into business. So what happened was I Googled on that flight home from New York, how do you write a book? And I have the paper actually right here next to me. I saved it to remember how far I've come, because now I've written 2 books. But it says you basically have to earmark X amount of hours per day for X amount of days. And once I broke it down to that, I thought, that's not hard. I'm disciplined and I'm a hard worker. So I think I broke it down to I would write 5 hours a day for a month and see what happens. Within 2 weeks, I knew what I started not knowing what I started writing about that evil villain, that woman. I hated her. I wrote about what a jerk she was for like a week. And then it evolved into, I started writing about other times I felt like this, like when I got divorced, like when the recession hit and I had to fire a third of my staff, like all these, when I got arrested, all these negative times in my life.
You got arrested, Heather?
Yes, shockingly, most of the world has to. And so I would write about these different themes, yet every single time I would leverage those low moments to launch myself to the next level. And I started realizing I didn't know it, but I actually had the recipe on how to create confidence for myself. And I could write a book to teach other people how to do it and have that blueprint. And so then as I started seeing then I built momentum real fast because I knew what I was doing. I just had to put the time in, do the work. And then I started Googling, how do you find an editor? I posted on LinkedIn, I need an editor. And I found an editor within a week and we worked out a deal. And then once I sent him all of the writing that I had, within 2 weeks from there, he sent me back my first draft proposal of my book. And I'll never forget, I cried my eyes out when I saw it because it was like a book. And I could see I'm going to have a book. And then I had to Google, how do you self-publish? Because speed to market was important to me. I found a company that I could hire a la carte to do different things that I needed. And this time going around, I wrote the book last year. I wanted to find an agent. So I Googled who is Rachel Hollis's agent, because she was best-selling authors last year. I found her agent and I pitched her on me. She said, you're not the right fit for me, but my partner leans more towards business, which you lean more towards. Why don't you work with my partner? So I started working with her partner 6 months ago, and she had me rewrite my book proposal 15 times. And it was just accepted this morning. Yeah, crazy.
Oh, such a good day. Congratulations.
It's been 6 months coming. So we'll see. Well, yeah. So now the agent takes it out to shop it to, see who's interested from a publishing standpoint. So it's a much longer process when you don't self-publish.
Yeah. Right now in your life, what do you currently struggle with and or find that trips you up, that your confidence, you have to check yourself if you question your confidence today?
Oh my gosh, the coronavirus. I mean, this unknown situation, right? With a child, and I'm a single mother. We just found out yesterday that if Miami, which is where I live, has a known case of the coronavirus, they're shutting all schools down.
Wow.
So learning that today impacts my business in a profound way because I travel for work. So ultimately, I have a trip next week to New York. I may have to cancel now. And so thinking about, I started spiraling out of control of, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to continue to evolve my business and grow my business? I can't afford setbacks right now. How can I manage this? And then as a mother, how can I keep my child safe? How can I keep myself safe from an unknown factor that I don't have any expertise around? So I feel like there's always going to be something that's going to come up. And it's funny, in regards to coronavirus, I go back to, I was a lifeguard when I was younger.
Me too.
You were? Well, then you'll remember this. One of the most important things you can do is remain calm in any moment of crisis, and that's really gosh, since I've been 15 years old, that I've learned that about leadership and about handling very volatile situations where lives could need to be saved. And so I always remember that in business, that whoever can stay calm and think clearly and find the opportunity wins. So I approach this in that same regard. So last night I was on Amazon and I was on Instacart and I was ordering everything in the world I could need for my home and for my child, in case, just to be prepared, right? And so that I could have a good foundation to feel more secure and confident from. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or next month, or they're going to have a cure tomorrow. Who knows? But I can tell you this, it made myself feel better and more calm to take steps to improve my situation.
Yeah. And I think that goes with anything, is we don't know what is going to be in the future. You didn't know you were going to write a book, you were going to speak, and it's just, what can you do today to prepare yourself and to show up as your most confident self, so that you give yourself those opportunities to follow the opportunity that may present itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to also share, you have a free confidence book and accountability group that people can sign up for on your website, heathermonahan.com. Can you share a little bit more about that and where people can find you to get more information?
Sure. So if you go to my website, heathermonahan.com, there's a free accountability partner tab. Click that, put in your email. You'll get an email from me every morning helping you focus on achieving your goals and overcoming adversity. And there's also a free 30 days to a confident you. You can download that. It's a PDF and you just put your email in there and you will receive a free 30-day plan. You can follow me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook. I'm everywhere at Heather Monahan.
That's so fun. And if they want you to come speak at their next event, they can reach out as well.
Absolutely. You can do it right. You can book me right from my site.
Yeah, I know. I love following Heather on social too, because she really just keeps things in check every day and helping me to become my best self. And I know she can do that for you too. So thank you for having the courage to step out, for finding your confidence in adversity, and for continuing to share your story, because I know it's definitely making a difference.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Heather. And thank you so much for listening. I know I feel super jazzed right now. I love Heather's like business side and practicality of just being confident, going out there and taking your next best step. And I hope you feel really excited to go out and execute and take action today, because you deserve it and you are amazing. Sending you so much love. Thanks again, Heather. Have a great day.